started now. See how that worked? That was great. Now I have to say we're getting started. I feel like I'm standing in front of my classroom at the university. So before we get started, my name is Dr. Barb Hamilton-Hinch, and I'm really honored to be here this morning as your MC. And I am the Assistant Vice Provost Equity Inclusion and a member of the African Nova Scotian Steering Committee. And we're really excited for the day and what's about to happen. And it's always challenging when I'm a talker and I have notes in front of me. So I'm going to first do our land acknowledgement. And so we do recognize that our meeting and gathering on unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And we know that this is unsurrendered territory. And we also recognize the contributions of our African Nova Scotian community that has been here for over 400 years. And when we do land acknowledgements, it's important not just do them for the sake of doing land acknowledgements. As an African Nova Scotian who's been in this province for over 400 years, I recognize the support and the kinship of our Mi'kmaq people who was side by side in our communities. And many of us identify as both Mi'kmaq and African Nova Scotian. And we are thankful for the land that we are on and also for the strength of Mother Africa that is given to us as people of African descent, as African Nova Scotians. And we are excited about the announcement, and I don't want to go too much into it, but we're excited that the African Nova Scotian community is being supported and recognized by Senator Oliver. And so I welcome all of you here, and to me you're all VIPs, but we're going to mention some that are with us that have taken the time to be with us this morning. I do want to recognize Senator Don Oliver and Ms. Linda Oliver for being with us this morning. Thank you both. Mr. Wade Dow, who we'll also hear from. The Honorable Twyla Gross, Minister of African Nova Scotian Affairs and Minister of the Public Service Commission, which is still very new for me to say, and I'm going to make this like a family event because that's what we do in our communities as African Nova Scotians. And I grew up in the community of Cherrybrook and Beachville. And so in Twyla, you'll still might hear her call me Barbie, because that's how far back we go, and I can't get her to call me Barb, but welcome, and it's nice to see you. Congratulations on your titles.
Thank you.
Chancellor Rustin Southwell, who I also have a personal relation with. Dr. Teresa Ray Jack-Talley, Dalhousie's Vice Provost for Equity and Inclusion. Monique Thomas, who is our Director of African Nova Scotian Community Engagement at Dalhousie University, who you will also hear from. Russell Gross, our Executive Director of the Black Cultural Center, and Joshua Paris, who is one of our first-year students. So let's give them a warm round of applause. And of course, all of you that are with us this morning, I'm only going to take a couple of minutes just to talk a little bit about Dalhousie's commitment to inclusive education. And having had the opportunity, I've been a student at Dalhousie and graduated 3 times. I can tell you that it's fantastic to be where we are now at Dalhousie University. We have just recently launched our Third Century Promise, and my colleague, and I also want to acknowledge Quinta Adams, our Assistant Vice Provost. They already give me a title of Quinta. Our Assistant Vice Provost, Student Services, and Michelle Williams. They are both our co-chairs, Professor Michelle Williams at the law school. They are our co-chairs of our African Nova Scotian strategy. So I want to definitely point them out and give them a round of applause as well. And the reason why it was important for me to point that out is because Dalhousie has made a commitment, a strong commitment, to the African Nova Scotian community and to our Mi'kmaq community. And that's very present in our Third Century Promise. And so this announcement is very, very timely today as we get to hear about the continued support for our African Nova Scotian community and our students that are coming from diverse backgrounds and communities. We've made a commitment to change the face of Dalhousie through our EDI policies, changing the face of how Dalhousie looks at every level, from our staff to our students to our senior admin. And Dalhousie has been the lead institution in doing that from the time we started reports way back in the 1980s. We often refer to the Breaking Barriers report that came out of the African Nova Scotian community, and where we had demands that not all of them have been realized, but many have. We have many other reports, the IBM Initiative, the Transition Year Program, Imitup Legacy. Dalhousie continues to make a commitment to our students, to our faculty, and our staff. And we thank Dalhousie. It doesn't mean we have it right, but we are going in the right direction. We did the research on the Lord Dalhousie report, and I encourage you to go onto our website, the James Robson Johnson Chair. Soon we'll be launching a Black Studies Research Institute, and we have hired a number of EDI assistant deans as well. And so I am very pleased with the direction we are going. And I could stand here a lot and talk about the great things that are going on at Dalhousie, but you didn't come to hear me talk about the great things that Dalhousie is doing, but to hear about our fantastic announcement. As you know, just another indication of where we are heading is the advancement or the hiring, the appointment of Dr. Rustin Southwell as our Chancellor. That does deserve a round of applause. And Dr. Southwell had his first introduction to our convocations last week, doing 2 a day for 2 days, and I said that just warms you up for May when we do 3 a day for a week. So he's done it well. And so I really enjoyed being there for his speech. And so Dalhousie is very pleased to have Dr. Rustin Southwell as our 9th Chancellor. And we're really excited to that. He was officially installed on October 3rd. Many of you know him as the founding CEO of the Black Business Initiative. I often will say to Rustin, he used to work for BBI, but we know that he will always be connected to BBI, but he is the founding CEO. He was inducted into the Nova Scotia Business Hall of Fame in 2022, a recipient of the Order of Nova Scotia. And so I'm very happy to, at this time, turn it over to our Chancellor.
Thank you, Barbara. Good morning, everyone. So I'm always amused when those things are read off because I wonder who are they speaking about. I'm also very pleased to be here. It's actually literally around this time next week that we're doing the gowning and everything at the first convocation. And BBI work as hard as it was, standing on your feet for 2.5 hours with about 300 people passing you, picking up their degrees, it seemed to be going to be a lot more work, so I have to get training. So I'll thank Barbara, Nabi, and for this introduction, and I'll adopt the protocol that was set by her, except that for me it's an honor, and known Senator Oliver for quite a while now, and I want to recognize him, and Mr. Daw, and certainly the Senator's family, Linda and the family who have been very dear to me, and also to welcome the new Minister of African Nova Scotian Affairs, Twilight Wilson, and recognize her as well as Cheryl Fraser, who is the Board of Governors for the university, sitting among the audience, and those already acknowledged. And also want to recognize that we are in Mi'kma'ki as well, and recognize the historic and outstanding African Nova Scotian community and those in the diaspora. So good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm pleased to be here today. I'm also delighted that one of my first duties as Dalhousie's newly installed Chancellor is to celebrate a transformative gift that will support and sustain the success of African Nova Scotian students. Because of this, I believe that providing young people with education and open doors and grows the communities in which they live and study and work, and to be able to provide that to them. Today, I'm also pleased to recognize a strong leader and businessman and philanthropist, Mr. Wade Daw, who I've sat at a couple of CDL sessions where I've seen him at work. He was inspired by his mentor and friend, the Honorable Senator Donald Oliver, to make this transformative gift. That is the power of philanthropy, and that is giving in full action. Today we are witnessing philanthropy that is designated to inspire, grow, and advance and create significant impact. But before we go any further, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Wade Daw and Senator Donald Oliver. These two community leaders have been friends and confidants for many years. If you've met Mr. Daw, you'll know that he was probably born and raised in Newfoundland. And beyond that, his leadership and entrepreneurial skills were recently recognized with the P.J. Gardner 2023 Newfoundland and Labrador Entrepreneur of the Year Award. On top of that, today he's an acclaimed venture capitalist, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and skilled investor, as well as the president of Briggers Capital, a privately owned investment company. Mr. Daw is a fellow of the Creative Disruption Lab Atlantic, got ahead of my notes, located on the Dalhousie campus, where he mentors young entrepreneurs. He has stated that investing in the next generation is the key to ensuring that the region reaches its full potential. And that dovetails nicely into Senator Oliver and his passion, commitment to mentoring others and helping them remove any barriers to success. So before I get on my notes with Senator Oliver, I've always been a personal connection. And I remember my days at BBI, sitting at one of the sessions, and folks were whispering to me, Senator Oliver is out there. And he had walked in, just like anyone else, and just sat in the crowd. And went over and was trying to pull him on. He said, no, I just wanted to come listen. And to be honest, like, we've did recognition before. He was a key part of the success of what became BBI over the years. We sat in Ottawa trying to do a lot of things that you see happening now. This man was engineering it in the government with Mr. Menzies and so on. So I never got a chance to publicly thank you, except when I gave you a rose a few years ago. But indeed, a very passionate person. Not only that, Senator Oliver is a Dalhousie alum who taught law part-time at the Schulich School of Law for over 14 years. Recently, he was awarded the Dalhousie Schulich School of Law Weldon Award for Unselfish Public Service. This award, thank you. This award recognizes law school alumni who have made outstanding contributions to the community and the legal profession. And to quote Quinta Adams, and I'm not sure if she's here yet, Dalhousie Assistant Vice Provost for Student Engagement and Success, to truly complement the depth and breadth of Dr. Oliver's unselfish public service is an exercise in humility. To have contributed a fraction of what he has would be a life well served, and I'd fully endorse that. He was appointed to the Senate of Canada in 1990 and served until his retirement in 2013. It's 23 years, folks. He's a member of the Order of Canada, the Order of Nova Scotia, and the director of the James R. Johnson Chair in Black Canadian Studies, as well as the director of the Black North Initiative. In fact, this year he was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Black North Initiative. Senator Oliver has spent decades supporting charitable causes and giving of his time and resources to help others get ahead. When combined with these two thought leaders and friends who have dedicated their lives to not only establishing their own careers, but to making sure others have equal opportunities to become successful and contributing members of their communities. That is why I'm proud to announce the establishment of the Senator Don Oliver Scholarships, made possible with the leadership and gift of Mr. Wade Dahl. Impressive. And I'll say the envelope, please. This new scholarship is being launched with a gift of $1 million from Mr. And it is given in honor of Senator Oliver and in recognition of his significant contributions to this community. Can we please really give these two guys? These scholarships will provide critical access to education for African Nova Scotian students who are pursuing their academic career and dreams through Dalhousie University. They will provide financial resources to these students throughout the Dalhousie undergraduate degrees in whatever program they've chosen. Additionally, recipients will have access to mentoring, networking, on-campus supports, strengthening their pathway to ensure success. Dalhousie is committed to being a strategic partner in promoting inclusive excellence, as was said early on by Barbara, within education, and that is our role as a civic university. We know that the health, wellness, and economic prosperity of this region requires collaboration with people and the communities that they represent, a multitude of different experiences. We need to see through those eyes of the many and not just the eyes of the few. Philanthropy enables us to expand our capacity to impact on our communities, and this gift will assist in creating the leaders of the future and the leaders of tomorrow. We are grateful. With this, I'd like to welcome to the podium these two giants of men, Mr. Wade Dog, and of course, Senator Oliver.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Nice to see such a great turnout here this morning. Got a few words. If I were to offer a handful of those words to describe my friend, Senator Don Oliver, they would be dignified, determined, highly intelligent, principled, and hardworking, exceptionally hardworking. Senator Don Oliver is a role model in his legal profession, in politics, in the Senate, in the province and across Canada, to Nova Scotians and Canadians of black descent, and to all of us. He was born in 1938 at a time of widespread racism, a level of racism and inequality that we are simply unable to even fathom and fully appreciate today. In-your-face racism, as he would describe it in his biography. I had a page mixed up. So I'd like to provide a few examples of what he experienced. The first one involves his sister Jeannie. Jeannie was passed over for an award at high school graduation because of her skin color. Jeannie earned the highest marks at our high school, but was denied the gold medal in favor of a young white boy. Despite having the highest marks, Jeannie received the silver medal. But there's a very interesting postscript to this story. That same year, all graduating students province-wide were academically tested. But this time, each student was assigned a number. Student names and identities were hidden. Jeannie was the standout winner with the highest marks province-wide. Racism didn't come into play because she had a number, and numbers don't have color. Senator Oliver was also an exceptional student. As a young man in 1921, as a young man of 21 in 1960. You know, I think he's getting old, but he's not that old. He applied for a Rhodes Scholarship to represent the province of Nova Scotia at the University of Oxford in England. And he was down to the final steps. He worked hard, as he always does. He was fully prepared, and he entered the interview room in front of a panel, which included the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia. And because he was so well prepared for the interview, he eloquently answered all the questions. A fact that was fully acknowledged by the panel. But as the interview concluded, they paused and they indicated, there's going to be one more question. And they looked at him and said, how do you think Nova Scotians would feel about being represented at Oxford University by a Negro? Now, young Don Oliver could not have anticipated such a question. He was stunned. But he maintained his composure, answered the question, and he left. Young Don Oliver was not awarded the Rhodes Scholarship for one reason, and one reason only, and it was the color of his skin. I'm going to give one more example. One evening in the early 1980s, Don planned to celebrate a special occasion at a popular steakhouse located on Quinpool Road, along with his elderly mother, his sister, brother-in-law, and a couple of family friends. The party of 6 arrived at 5:30 p.m. for their reservation, and they were seated by the front window. Over the next half hour, other tables around them filled up and were being attended to, served. They were served drinks and meals. More time passed, and Don repeatedly signaled to the waitress and was ignored. It was awkward. A little more time passed, and the owner of the restaurant, he stormed over, red-faced, and he proclaimed, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear, that they could sit as long as they wanted, but his restaurant would not serve people of color. Their special evening and celebration, it was derailed and ruined. A full restaurant, at this point, not a single person stood up in their defense. So they got up quietly and they left. Now this was the 1980s in Halifax. Do I need to say more? I think, my point is made. There were so many instances and examples throughout his long life. And I have no doubt that he must have felt anger and hurt and extreme frustration countless times. Now, Senator Oliver and I met at a conference about 12 years ago. I was sitting at a table during a luncheon presentation. There was an empty chair to my left, and he came over, sat next to me, and we struck up a conversation. We exchanged cards, and we've been very good friends ever since. And we've spent a lot of time together. We've had many long conversations about everything from business and politics to social and current events, all kinds of things. And despite the obstacles he faced over the years and all of his experiences, I have not witnessed a trace of bitterness or anger. In fact, I have never heard him say a negative word about anyone, ever. Senator Oliver, he has many talents. I understand his athleticism has been demonstrated in a number of sports, including golf. I hear he's quite a golfer. Now, I can't hit the golf ball straight, so he and I have never played together. I didn't want to be embarrassed going out with him. He's also a great cook. He's written and published 3 cookbooks. He's a talented writer. He recently published a biography, which is, by the way, an absolutely incredible read. I honestly could not lay this book down, and if you haven't read it, I recommend you read it. It really is an incredible book. He's a wine connoisseur, and he's a member of a renowned wine collectors group. He's an avid gardener of flowers, fruit, and vegetables. He and his wife Linda, they gave me a full plot of perennials, and I planted them at my cottage. They're right in front of my bedroom window. I refer to it as the Oliver Garden. And every one of them survived, Linda. I think I've told you before. He's taught law at Dalhousie University, as I believe Chancellor said, for 14 years. He was a senior partner and a skilled lawyer for years at Stewart McKelvey. He was active in politics, and he served with distinction in the Senate. He's proved his aptitude for business and investing, and I can personally attest to that. He's quite good at investing and in business. They run a Christmas tree farm, and he's done all sorts of things. You know, but all that, the first love of his life is his wife Linda and his daughter Carolyn. And not a conversation will go by when he doesn't speak about both of them. He brings them up regularly in pretty well every conversation. And for me, he's a true and he's a trusted friend. To this day, our phone calls usually run for well over an hour, and in person much longer. Linda and Don have invited me to their beautiful home, and for lunches and gatherings, and we always have a good time. Don and I, we traveled to Gabon, Africa together in 2013 when he was retiring from the Senate. I had business interests in Gabon, and I asked Don for help with some introductions. And he went above and beyond. We were greeted at the airport by high-level dignitaries. We met the leadership of the country, ministers, senators, the head of the Senate, senior bureaucrats in numerous departments. I actually had to tell him to stop because it was, you know, who else do you want to see with? And I'm not exaggerating. It was unbelievable. We had a government vehicle take us around. We were treated to dinners, and we were interviewed a few times by the media. This man gets things done, I can tell you. Senator Oliver, he has the talent and the smarts, and he could have pursued any avenue that he wanted in his life. What he chose was to dedicate his professional life to the fight against systemic racism while promoting equality. Whether it was taking pro bono work as a human rights lawyer or volunteering countless hours for charitable causes and committee work, Don's focus and life's work was for equality. Here in Nova Scotia, he took a lead role in establishing the Black Cultural Centre. The Black Cultural Centre opened in 1983 after 11 years of hard work. He was the founding president of the society that operated the center, and this was the first of its kind in Canada, and it chronicled a 400-year history of black people in Nova Scotia. What stands out to me, and I don't think it's very well known, was his work and his advocacy as a member of the Senate. As a senator, he drafted and introduced a private member's bill for criminal harassment and stalking. He also drafted a bill that resulted in Canada's first anti-spam law in 2010, and he played an instrumental role in launching Bill C-2, which covers ethical conduct and conflicts of interest by public office holders, including cabinet ministers. Bill C-2 opened up Canada's Parliament to much more public scrutiny. The example of his work that I find most striking is when he decided to tackle racism in corporate Canada. Deep down, he knew there was a serious problem with racism and discrimination within the workplace, including corporations and the public sector. And he went out to advocate for change. He organized meetings and appointments with executives and CEOs of major corporations across the country. They would politely receive him. They would participate in the discussion. But the premise of the meeting, racism in the workplace, was usually dismissed. In other words, CEOs and other senior executives were in denial that their organizations discriminated against black people. His approach wasn't working. But undeterred, Senator Oliver realized he needed real data and facts to back up what he knew to be true. He needed data that could not be ignored, data that could not be brushed aside. So he proposed the first study of its kind, which would detail discrimination and racism in the workplace. And he knew he needed a prestigious organization to carry out the study. He convinced a well-respected think tank, the Conference Board of Canada, to take on the study. And they agreed to do it. But there was one major problem: the cost. They told him it would cost $500,000 to carry out the work and produce the study. An enormous sum for such a study. Yet another obstacle. But he pushed forward, went on a fundraising mission, and successfully raised the $500,000 they said they required for the study. Now, what was the result of his dogged perseverance? The most comprehensive research report ever produced detailing systemic racism and discrimination in the Canadian workplace. The report also concluded that diversity indeed enhanced the workplace. With this study and report now complete, there was no way for corporate Canada to deny the facts. Discrimination in the workplace was real, and it was time for action. That report resulted in real change. For the first time in Canada, companies could no longer obscure the truth. They could no longer politely ignore and deny the problem. Senator Oliver later traveled the world speaking about the findings and pushing for change in other countries. I remember the first time Senator Oliver came to my office. I gave him a tour and I introduced him to everyone. A few days later, we were having a chat, and he casually mentioned to me, and I quote, "Wade, there's not a lot of diversity in your workplace." And you know what? He was absolutely right. As I said earlier, Don Oliver could have chosen many paths. He chose to dedicate his work and many talents to making our society a more equitable and better place. This is something that we all benefit from. The scholarship we are announcing honors Senator Don Oliver. It recognizes his leadership and allows us to continue on the path that he has so courageously blazed. Importantly, the scholarship will enable other black students to achieve higher education, to pursue their dreams, and to become role models themselves. With my gift of $1 million, the scholarship funding model is designed to have a near-term, immediate impact because there is a great need right now. It's the first time this funding model has been used at Dalhousie University. I encourage you to consider making a contribution so we can help even more students achieve their educational goals. I'd like to thank Dalhousie for working with me to establish this scholarship, in particular Lori Ward and Sheila Blair Reed. I'd also like to thank Kim Brooks, the president of Dalhousie, for her support. Kind appreciation to Dr. Rustam Southwell, the chancellor of Dalhousie, for his thoughtful remarks today and his strong leadership over the years. A special thank you to Jennifer Horton. Jennifer is here in the front row. Jennifer did a lot of work on this scholarship, and we're very grateful and very appreciated, Jennifer. Thank you very much. I also want to thank Russell Gross for his support and strong leadership at the Black Cultural Center here in Nova Scotia. And Russell's going to offer shortly some concluding remarks. So lastly, it's Senator Oliver that richly deserves our thanks and appreciation for his life's work. And I would like you to join me in thanking and appreciating Senator Don Oliver.
Thank you, Wade, for those most generous, all too generous and kind remarks. I don't know how to say thank you for that. Mr. Chancellor, Madam Minister, President Kim, Cheryl Fraser, and all other distinguished guests and invitees, it is truly an honor, and one that comes from the bottom of my heart, to say in public, thank you, Wade, for your generosity, philanthropy, and kindness to make this $1 million donation apply to obtain a university education for many Black Nova Scotians who never dreamt it was a possibility. As Wade has already told you, and I normally don't give out my birthday, I was born in 1938 in the Annapolis Valley, before the breakout of the war, but not that far from the hungry, bitter days of the Depression of 1929. Life for Black people was hard indeed and painfully difficult most of the time, with anti-Black systemic barriers projecting out at every turn like needles in a porcupine. Halifax restaurants would not serve us. White barbers would not cut my curly hair. Black babies could not be buried in a white cemetery. Our movie theaters were segregated, and we had white and Black churches and schools. Life was hard. Coming from Newfoundland and Labrador, this brilliant young serial entrepreneur looked around and saw the pain and the lost opportunities in the Indigenous Black communities in Nova Scotia, and he wanted to do something about it. He wanted to find a financial and a moral way of making education, higher education, more accessible. And I had many conversations with Wade Dog when he would point to the Africvilles of Nova Scotia, point to other areas where nothing had been done to protect Black people, and said, it's not just a question of throwing money at this. We have to have a moral way of making education, higher education, a lot more accessible for those who have not had it before. Wade, we are glad you did. Now there's a possibility for Blacks in Nova Scotia descendants of the 400 years of slavery and poverty, and living now in the 50 communities in the province, to see light at the end of the cave, an illusion of reality, but with encouragement to apply for one of the DAW scholarships and end up with a university degree from Dalhousie University that we all are proud of. That would be a dream come true for many Nova Scotia black students. Plato's light in the allegory of the cave symbolized enlightenment and wisdom. That's what they were seeing, that's what they were seeking, that's where they were going. Enlightenment and wisdom. Wade's 1 million, with hopefully a few more million from university sources and from Wade's vast connections to the much wider corporate sector, these funds will be epoch-changing for Halifax, our region, and the country as a whole. Imagine descendants of great-great-grandparents who were slaves, as in my case. A fifth-generation Canadian whose parents worked in tobacco plantations in Virginia and Maryland, graduating from Dalhousie, taking master's and later doctorate degrees, and while doing postdoctoral studies at Dalhousie, engaging in professional intensive research on subjects like the contribution blacks have made to this province and to the country. That would enrich the biography of Canada. It is now possible. The Senator Don Oliver scholarships that Wade has endowed will provide critical access to education for African Nova Scotia students to pursue their academic and career dreams through Dalhousie University. And as Wade has already told you, he has structured the scholarships in such a way that they will, of course, provide needed financial tuition resources to African Nova Scotians through their Dal undergraduate degrees in whatever program they choose, but it's more than tuition. In whatever they choose, it will also provide additional access to mentoring, and where possible, as he has alluded to, with role models, advice, opportunities, and other supports to see these students excel. This provides great hope by the provision of this generous and thoughtful gift. And thank you, Wade, and thank you all this morning for providing me with this brief opportunity to say thanks, Wade. It's deeply appreciated.
Yeah, that deserves another. I don't know about any of you, but I'm standing here very emotional, very honored, very moved, also very angry. And I know that's a lot of emotions, but hearing about the experiences of Black people in Nova Scotia during that time, and the fact that some of those experiences still exist in this time. And people sometimes ask, why do we need these types of program supports? And the truth is before us. We still have not arrived where we should have arrived. We are still not succeeding in the way we should succeed. But through your gift, through your sacrifices, Senator Oliver, we know we will do better. And I personally, humbly, thank you both for this. And I thank you for your sacrifices. So we know you stood up in the Senate when it wasn't popular to talk about racism, to talk about discrimination, to talk about how the government has affected us as Black people in Nova Scotia. And I personally thank you for your commitment and your sacrifices and the sacrifices of your family. Because I know it took the family to do some of the things you're doing, and I want to thank you. Thank you so much. So now with that, going back by the script, I'm very honored to introduce Monique Thomas, who's the Director of the African Nova Scotian Community Engagement. And the African Nova Scotian strategy was used to design and develop the scholarship. And I thank the African Nova Scotian strategy for the work that we've done at Dalhousie in making sure that we got it right. And I just want to thank the committee for that. So Monique is currently the Director of African Nova Scotian Community Engagement and the interim. She is a graduate of Dalhousie University of the BCom in 2011. She served as Dal as Assistant Registrar of Communications and Marketing and as a staff at the Black Student Advising Center. So join me in welcoming Monique.
Thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Monique Thomas and I'm the Director of African Nova Scotian Community Engagement at Dalhousie. I stand before you not just as a representative of Dal, but also as a proud African Nova Scotian Dalhousie alumna whose life was positively impacted by the transformative power of education and scholarships. As someone who has personally experienced the impact of gifts such as these, I understand the significance this occasion we are celebrating today. Scholarships are not just financial aids. They represent hope, guiding a way for deserving students, especially those from the African Nova Scotian community, to pursue their dreams and achieve their aspirations. My journey at Dalhousie was made possible through the generosity of scholarships, and it is a privilege to now work towards ensuring that others have similar opportunities. Today, we not only celebrate the generosity of our donor, but we also recognize the pivotal role that the African Nova Scotian strategy plays in shaping the educational landscape of our institution. At the core, the African Nova Scotian strategy is the recognition of African Nova Scotians as a distinct people. Supported by the African Nova Scotian Strategy Advisory Council, the strategy calls for proactive measures to support African Nova Scotian students, staff, and faculty. This is achieved through pathway programs for students, staff, and faculty, enhanced curriculum and research opportunities, community engagement both locally and globally, and of course, student financial aid. This strategy is not just a roadmap, it is a commitment to fostering inclusivity, breaking down barriers, and empowering our student staff and faculty to thrive. Today, as we honor the Honorable Dr. Oliver's legacy and the contributions he made to creating a more just and inclusive Canadian society, we are reminded that our work is far from over. The impact of special gifts like these and the African Nova Scotian strategy stretch far beyond our campus, enriching our society as a whole. We are investing not just in individuals, but in the collective future of our province, community, and country. I would like to now introduce you to Joshua Paris, an extraordinary individual joining us today. Joshua is a first-year student in the medical science program at Dal. He not only excels academically, but also brings with him a rich history of achievements. He was the valedictorian of his graduating class at Halifax West High School and was also recognized as Athlete of the Year. Beyond his academic and athletic achievements, Joshua is deeply involved in community service. He has dedicated nearly a decade to volunteering with the Jamaican Cultural Association of Nova Scotia and also contributes his time to his church, Emmanuel Baptist Church. Recently, he served as a youth ambassador at the NIA Summit, showcasing his commitment to making a positive impact. It's an honor to have Joshua here with us today, and I invite you to join me in welcoming him to the podium.
Thank you, Monique, and good morning, everyone. I'm sorry. First and foremost, I want to say that it's an honor and a privilege to stand before you today and to witness this momentous event and such an honorable occasion. So, thank you. I stand before you today to emphasize the profound importance of the Senator Don Oliver Scholarship. Scholarships play a pivotal role in shaping the future of our youth. They not only provide financial support, but also symbolize hope and opportunity. However, it is crucial to recognize that as Black students, we face significantly more challenges on our educational journeys. This new scholarship is a momentous step towards addressing these disparities as it addresses the challenges that African Nova Scotians face and recognizes the abundance of potential that lies within us. Many Black students encounter barriers that hinder their pursuit of knowledge, such as constraints, systemic inequalities, low expectations, and lack of resources. These obstacles threaten to dim the brilliance of our young minds. The Senator Don Oliver Scholarship not only provides monetary assistance, but also the validation of potential, the encouragement to dream, and the empowerment to achieve. I feel that this scholarship transforms obstacles into stepping stones, enabling students to focus on their studies, unlock their capabilities, and make valuable and worthwhile contributions. But this is not just about financial support. Bursaries like this send a powerful message to us, a message that says our dreams are valid, and our contributions to society are wanted. Representation matters, and when students see that there are opportunities specifically designed to support them, it is both uplifting and motivating. Furthermore, this scholarship is part of a broader support system at Dalhousie that includes the Black Student Advisory Center, also known as BSAC. BSAC is an invaluable resource, one that provides a safe space for students to connect with mentors, receive academic guidance, and access resources tailored to their needs. This support network goes beyond financial assistance, as it encompasses mentorship, counseling, and fosters a sense of belonging that is crucial for academic and personal growth. This holistic approach not only promotes academic success, but also enhances the overall learning experience. The importance of this scholarship cannot be overlooked. It is an investment in the future of Black scholars and in our society. It is an investment in breaking down barriers, nurturing talent, and supporting us in our roots, and supporting us in our Black excellence. This initiative is not just about education, but creating a more inclusive future and puts us on the path towards, it puts us on the path towards achieving a more equitable future. Thank you.
And Josh's aspiration is we're gonna claim in advance is to be a medical doctor, so we claim that already, Josh. So thank you, those were amazing words. So I'm really honored to introduce you to Russell Gross, our Executive Director of the Black Cultural Center, to offer thanks on behalf of the community. Russell Gross, the Executive Director of the Black Cultural Center and the Vice Chairman and Technical Director, CIO 97.5 FM. So welcome, Russell.
Well, good morning, everyone, or it's probably close afternoon. No, still morning. That was kind of weak. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's my honor and pleasure to be here with you this morning on this special occasion. And first I wanted to say greetings to our honored guests that are here that made today possible. And of course, all of you that are here. Today is a proud day for Black Canadians as a scholarship in honor of our good friend, mentor, and community leader, Senator Oliver, was set forth. A scholarship to inspire and support young African Nova Scotians here in our province. The scholarship, initiated by Mr. Dow and his wonderful gift and support, will provide an important path of encouragement, growth, and elevation of African Nova Scotia students. Today, as we celebrate the rich heritage of African Nova Scotians and their presence in this province for well over 400 years, we can rely on the notion from the old African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. And today, we're that village, and this scholarship provides that village. This aligns with today's announcement and the ability of this legacy to collectively strengthen our community, our province, to be more diverse, while building capacity in our Black communities. Senator Oliver is a mentor, a friend, a trailblazer, who has over the decades has been pivotal in the growth of Black culture and heritage, not only in our country, but internationally. Through his many facets of work, he's helped us protect, preserve, and promote our history, but also he's been a strong advocate for change. Change that will help build our community and build a better country. In learning about this scholarship through a conversation with Senator Oliver and then later a meeting with Mr. Dow, it was apparent to me that it had so many similarities to the title of Senator Oliver's book, that it really is a matter of equality. It's a matter of leveling the playing field. It's a matter of providing opportunities where there weren't opportunities. And to Mr. Dow, your contribution in this is remarkable. Not only because what's obvious, your strong friendship with Senator Oliver, but it's the aspect of allyship, the aspect of working hand in hand with a marginalized community to make things better. Communities can't do it alone. And you're an example of what can be done if we put our hearts and our minds together. It's more than fitting that this scholarship be offered in Senator Oliver's honor, as it's a true testament of his desire at this stage of his life to pass the mantle and encourage young African Nova Scotian students to have the ability to excel. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Black Cultural Center and Black Cultural Society, as well as African Nova Scotians across this province, we are so pleased with Mr. Dow's incredible contribution and Dalhousie University's acceptance to work with us, to empower and ensure that Senator Oliver's legacy is always remembered, always acknowledged, but most importantly, will be used to the betterment and the elevation of Black students in this province. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. So this is bringing our event to a close. And I'd like to thank our guests and speakers, Chancellor Sloswell, Senator Oliver, Wade Dow, Monique, Josh had to rush for class, and Russell for being a part of the event, and for all of you for coming, for our African Nova Scotian Strategy co-chairs. I'd like to thank the North End Memorial Library for the hospitality. We encourage you to consider supporting the fund and promoting to African Nova Scotian youth looking to pursue their educational excellence. There's brochures and web sheets available on the back table. We also invite those of you who want to know more about the African Nova Scotian Strategy. There's some brochures to our right on the table back there as well. And we invite you to continue to enjoy each other's company. There's still lots of food to eat, to tuck away in a napkin for lunch. We want to also thank the company who supplied our refreshments for this morning. And we just encourage you to take what you heard today, the thoughts presented by both Wade Dow and Senator Oliver, about the experiences of Black people in Canada and Nova Scotia. Don't let that thought just leave you when you leave this room, but continue to think about the challenges, continue to think about the barriers, continue to think about the successes as well, and that collectively we can continue to change the way our government looks, our university looks, our places of work. And I'm so thankful that Senator Oliver said to you, Wade, there's not enough diversity. We need more people who are standing up and saying that and being confident. We also need more people who are willing to move out the way so that we can begin to change the way things look. So I thank you for coming today. This in itself shows your commitment to change. Please don't forget to sign the pledge sheet, to make donations and supports. And we thank you again for coming on behalf of Dalhousie University, our donors, and Senator Oliver. Enjoy the rest of the day.